Rest in peace to Akira Toriyama. What's up, everybody? This is Christ and Comics, and today this is a very special tribute video that I'm doing to Akira Toriyama for his work of doing Dragon Ball Z. In fact, the entirety of the Dragon Ball franchise, if you ask me, has truly blessed me throughout the majority of my life since I was 8 years old. But just as we're getting this video started, let me just do my due diligence and say that, guys, if you like the content that we produce on this channel, where we share the gospel using anime, manga, comic books, and other forms of media, please make sure that you hit that subscribe button. Make sure that you also like this video. That way it's boosted through the YouTube algorithm. And not only that, I would love to see you guys comment, and I'm more than happy to respond. Of course, if you have something good to say, no matter even if it's bad. Anyway, let's go forward with this video. You see, Akira Toriyama had passed away on March the 1st, and it's being speculated whether that was due to a cerebral hematoma, or a clot in his brain, or him actually having a brain tumor. But he's been having it for over a year now. There's a lot coinciding with what it is that led up to his death. Nonetheless, no matter what the reason is, no matter what the cause, this man has made a huge impact on the anime community as a whole. He's made a huge impact on the manga community as a whole. Now, to be fair, I'm not going to sit here and take time to go over the history of Akira Toriyama's life and his works and all that build up to it. There's so many TikToks and YouTube videos that are dedicated to telling that very thing. And I encourage you guys, go check those videos out. Google it for yourself. There's so much to be said about his life. One thing that I will say, though, is that he is one of the biggest influences for people creating manga of their own because of the work that he has done with Dragon Ball. And I say this because Akira Toriyama was so diligent in making his work and creating new stories, doing art and drawing over and over and over again. Even in the beginning, his work was rejected or not accepted as one that they would push through as an official manga, at least up until the point of him actually doing Dragon Ball. And even in doing Dragon Ball, are we given this opportunity to see the evolution of the story from going from a battle/gag manga with more gags than battles to being almost purely about battle manga. And so it's a fighting manga, you know, and it's amazing to see that even that progression take place with his story, and us as fans getting to witness this journey in spite of what our opinions have been over all of these years. But I want to take today to express to Akira Toriyama, to express to this audience, why did I even get into Dragon Ball in the first place? You know, growing up for me, Dragon Ball was one of those series that my family, being that I came up in a Christian family, especially with my dad being a pastor, where Dragon Ball and other anime were immediately just looked at as demonic. And so me being their child, I got rebellious. I will tell you guys, I was very rebellious. I snuck to watch the show as frequently as I possibly could, because although my parents didn't see it, whenever I would watch it, the stuff that I was learning in Bible study, the stuff that I was learning on Sunday, the stuff that I was reading in the Bible or watching in my Christian cartoon shows and movies, etc., I was seeing that in Dragon Ball in so many different areas. I saw my faith being reflected in a different art form.
I am the hope of the universe. I am the answer to all living things that cry out for peace. I am protector of the innocent. I am the light in the darkness. I am truth. Allied to good, nightmare to you.
And I couldn't help but be drawn to that. It's like, I love seeing the gospel be portrayed in this way. It was always like that for me ever since I was an infant. Now, don't get me wrong, of course, I just love the fights, still love the fights in some areas as well. That wasn't a thing. But at the same time, when you see the Bible being portrayed, that is what captivated me. Now, this leads me to, before I go into so many different scenes that would actually make Dragon Ball Z okay for Christians, and again, why I'm tributing this video to Akira Toriyama, because he's the one that showed that to me, whether he intended to or not. sidebar. I think there's a lot that Akira Toriyama did with Dragon Ball that was just a fluke or a happenstance, and we just went with it as the audience, right? It's like the tails, like the fact that he forgot to keep drawing tails and giving them their monkey tails, but he added the caveat of, you know, strength differentiation when we bring in the Saiyans, etc., Vegeta and all of them. You know, that part, okay, cool. But you know, a lot of it was just you know, just randomly done, and it worked out in his favor. So I really liked that about the series. It's crazy how that worked. And nonetheless, he still had the impact that he had. But I do want to say this. One of the things that, in the midst of finding out that he passed away, that shocked me and that made me concerned, I guess you could say, was you don't know if he was Christian or not. As a Christian, knowing whether someone is Christian or not when they pass is a huge thing. It's huge for us, because if you're asking the question of, did they spend eternity in heaven or are they spending eternity in hell, that's something that afflicts the heart of a believer. But after seeing what Ichiro Oda wrote in honor of Akira Toriyama and all the things that he said about the impact that he had, the friendship that they established, he ended off that note, and I'm paraphrasing this, by speaking on praying for him and believing that he's in heaven, and heaven being what he had envisioned. Now that's a bit iffy, but nonetheless, him having that prayer for Akira Toriyama gave me hope. It boosted my hope, and I still maintain that hope that he was a believer in Jesus and that he went to go be with the Father in heaven. Another thing to say about Akira Toriyama with his work, and then again I'll get back on topic, is that when it came to his work, one of the things about writing manga, that's why I always encourage people, read Bakuman. Bakuman will give you so much insight to the hardship of a mangaka, especially in Japan. Read that and then you'll understand. Don't watch the anime. Read the manga. Read the manga and then you'll get it. But if you make a manga and it gets animated, that anime, the animators are not subject to you as a manga creator. I don't have to do anything you say or go off of any of your recommendations, at least in Japan, and do whatever I want. And so when you see fillers, or when you see movies, or when you see some of the changes compared to the manga, it's not because the mangaka is like, I want to do this part different now the times changed. They do that of their own. However, if you're that popular and successful or creative, a lot of these animators, especially now today, will consult the mangaka first before they go and do things. And several of the works that we see coming out now today, like even Dragon Ball Daima, Dragon Ball Super Daima, that series, there's a consulting with Akira Toriyama before it's being produced. There's a consulting with Akira Toriyama before people were like, hey, I want to make this. Okay, cool, I'll give you approval. Even when that young lady did the story for Bardock being transferred back to the past and being that Saiyan that encountered an ancestor to Frieza, and that's what sparked the legend, even all of that, Akira Toriyama approved that work. And so to see his influence being so great that people come to him before they even go to do anything with his works, absolutely amazing. I respect and I love that. But where I've seen the gospel in Dragon Ball 1 is in one of the ways that a lot of fans get mad at, and that is in the way that Goku has mercy on his enemies. And when I say mercy, it's not like he didn't beat the living daylights out of them, but he's hesitant to just go in for the kill always because he has a hope that that person can change. I know a lot of people today, especially non-believers, that like, if you're evil, they need to be wiped out, taken out, lose their job, cancel culture, etc. for all of the evil that they bring to the world. And their evil is worse than mine. Like, I think that is completely ignorant. I believe, according to scripture, that the wages of sin is death. And that does not mean some sins are worse. Some sins will kill you, but others won't. That means every sin will result in someone losing their life. And God will judge every single sin the same. But for what Jesus has done, he also set it up so that everyone has a hope and an opportunity to receive Christ for what he did, pay the debt for their sins, and have salvation with him in their passing. And if Jesus Christ has done that for everyone, well, we're even called to love our enemies, then we ought to have that same mindset that Goku has. Well, hey, maybe they'll change, and the fight that we have next time will be for a different reason. Goku demonstrated that type of faith in people.
Maybe you'll come back someday as a better person, I hope. I'd like that. Perhaps we'll have a little one-on-one.
And look, Vegeta, one of the people that he hesitated to take the life of, We see him change his life. Long journey. And a lot of fans rooting for this guy to make it to be different. A lot of people even rooting for his ruthlessness. But because of the influence that Goku has had on him, he finally has changed the way that he is, to the point of allowing new masters to come into his life and train him. I want you to recognize that gospel message. People don't want to trust in God because I don't want no one telling me what to do. I don't want to have a master. Look at Vegeta. Going from someone who's training on his own, doing things his own way, I'm going to subject myself to a master and learn that master's ways now. Vegeta, as hard-headed as he is, has subjected himself to a master. Why can't you? The gospel is very evident with that. Other things that really spark my faith is when you look at the aspect of what it means to even be a Saiyan. The nature of their blood is that they have what's known as a Zenkai boost. What a Zenkai boost is not when the person dies, but when a Saiyan specifically is being beat to the point of near death. Once they recover, their power is increased tenfold. So that's where we see Goku grow so much throughout the series, is because he's subjecting himself and his body to this detriment to the point that he can grow, mature, power up, level up, etc. And that is a reflection of where the gospel is speaking of how, one, we need to die to our flesh daily so that our faith can not only be maintained but built up so that we can do the work of the Lord in this world and take it to another level. That of his nature as a Saiyan is what I believe reflects in that of a Christian and what it means to walk out this faith walk. Dragon Ball Z has shown that, has demonstrated that for me. Now, I will say this, when it comes to Dragon Ball Super, it becomes a bit more complicated. It becomes a bit more complicated because now we're bringing in gods.
No, God!
We're bringing in gods. And however, where that's complicated, because we don't want to make ourselves into gods, we got the Super Saiyan God, right? We don't want to put ourselves in that position. That's not the Christian perspective at all. Although you have several people trying to justify that. Well, we are gods. No, we're not. Now you're getting into Hebrew Israelitism, you're getting into spirituality, you're getting into those that love the book of Enoch and exalt that above the gospel itself. You're getting into that realm, and that's a problem. The Bible does not support that, but what the Bible does support is where there is God, yes, us being able to tap into that God-like power because we are made in his image and in his likeness. Our bodies don't accept demon possession. That's why you see people writhing and twisting and all of this. But what our bodies can receive of is the Holy Spirit. Our vessels are designed to be able to receive of the power of God within us. Just as Goku may not be able to become a god per se, he can tap into God Ki and fight with that power. That is a reflection of the nature of what it means to be Christian. Not only that, they've even went a step further and have established that Zeno is above the echelon of the Godhead. And all of those other gods and angels and etc. are subject to him. What that actually reflects is what the Bible reflects, where God is the one that sits on the throne. There is also what's known as the hosts of heaven that are subject to him. Yes, there are principalities, there are powers, there are those that are influencing the corruption in the world, but nonetheless, they are all yet still subject to the true and living God, similar to that of Zeno, the gods of destruction, and their angels. All of that is being reflected in Dragon Ball, which is biblical in nature, if you were to ask me. Now, one of the things that would really write Dragon Ball off is the perversion that takes place in the earlier franchise of Dragon Ball, particularly with Bulma being exploiting her own sexuality, being exploited by old men and by other characters. We see that a lot. That is, in fact, a problem with early Dragon Ball. However, I'm not justifying it, but I am pointing out something that if you have actually been with the series all the way through, you should have noticed this. And that being where we do see Bulma be inappropriate to try and tempt people. God bless Goku. We like to say that's him being just ignorant because he didn't know anything about the girl anatomy. At the same time, that also shows his pureness of heart, that he doesn't allow for that to be what tempts him. But there's that discipline within him that doesn't become a temptation or something that overcomes him. Why? Because the values that Grandpa Gohan taught him not to seek and lust and desire for those things out of his life. we as believers in Christ, when we discipline ourselves to, one, not see women in that way, and two, not to long for and desire them in that way, do we then desire them in an appropriate way that is pleasing in the eyes of God, to see them as the daughters of God. So that's one thing. The other thing too is Bulma going from exploiting men in that way to being exploited in that way, and seeing how she doesn't like being exploited in that way. She, yes, still acts like a teen. I want a boyfriend. I want to be able to do this, have that, blah, blah, blah. She grows from being that adolescent teen to being this mature, wise, smart woman who doesn't need them as much. But as a matter of fact, they need her. One, to create the tracker for the Dragon Balls. Two, to be able to work on their spaceships. Three, to be able to make the capsules that makes their ships, that makes their this and makes that for them. She becomes a key part of the team because of her intellect, not because of her sexual attraction. And so that seeing that growth of character is something that speaks volumes, that we can have a hope, even for our young women who are being exploited, who have exploited themselves. We can keep a faith and a hope for them that they can in fact change and tap into the other aspects of what makes them beautiful and what makes them valuable. I think Dragon Ball does a very decent job of translating that as the story progresses. You see, Akira Toriyama, your story of Dragon Ball does reach in ways that I think a lot of people could not possibly understand. That it could preach even the gospel of Jesus, the message of the Holy Bible, in ways that non-believers just could not see, simply because this series is based off of Journey to the West, which is a Buddhist / Hindu tale that's also popular in Japanese culture, where you have a monkey god known as Sun Wukong, who's going on this journey and living his life the way that he wants to, and even contending against gods in that process and fighting for those that he loves, etc. I know I'm very poorly paraphrasing the Journey to the West, but I encourage you to check it out. Nonetheless, Akira Toriyama, in this video, I want to say thank you for the impact that you had on me as a fan of anime and manga, the impact that you even had on my faith, encouraging me to actually get more into the word and more into my faith, better understanding that, tapping into that, and harnessing that. So thank you so much, Akira Toriyama, and thank you guys for supporting him all these years, because y'all are the reason why this was able to go on as long as it has. So I pray that y'all have yourselves a blessed day, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.